Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Admitted Student Celebration and specifically this live stream for Physics and Engineering Physics. My name is Steve Vitito. I'm Assistant Vice President for Enrollment. And this session is being recorded, so we are able to share it with students who could not join us today. Before we start, just a brief introduction, and then I would like to turn it over to our host. John Carroll, once again, has earned the #2 spot among the best regional universities in the Midwest, according to the 2021 U.S. News and World Report rankings. That's because we strive for more than what's required academically, personally, and socially, and we empower you to achieve what others see as improbable. We recognize that lifelong exploration connects us to endless discovery, wonder, and joy. So you'll graduate unafraid to pursue the unknown. So again, welcome. And to take it over, I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Jeff Dick, who is the chair of the Department of Physics. Dr. Dick.
Hello, everybody. Steve, before I start, are you able to monitor if somebody comes into the waiting room?
Yes.
If I go into share? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna get started with a little bit of an overview, and let me just share my screen here. And I've got a few slides so that everybody can get a little bit of a taste of our programs and kind of a high-level overview. I'm going to go a little bit quickly, but just know that I can return to anything that you'd like to talk more about. I just want to get over some content, and then I'm going to turn it over to some of the panelists who have got a couple of alums, Silas and John, and then a current student, Caroline, and they're going to introduce themselves once I'm finished, and then we'll have time for a question and answers. So just some key points that you want to know about our department. This is a small department at John Carroll University, 4 full-time faculty members and 1 or 2 part-time instructors in a given semester, and we graduate on average about 8 to 10 students per year across our different majors. And so you have a really good student to faculty ratio in favor of the student. Everybody gets to know each other very well, and we develop relationships, and so that is a real plus. We have a variety of degree offerings that are related. The good news is that they have the same entry point for all of those different tracks, and I'll talk more about that. Our curriculum is unique in a couple of ways in that, number one, it's very applied and experiment-oriented, laboratory-oriented, as well as computation, which is a new sort of thrust in physics education research, and we're adopting those practices here. We, because of that good ratio for students, we get to know each other really well, and we can meet one-on-one with the students and really meet them where they are and help with that advising piece, both for coursework and the academic program, as well as careers and so on. We have a great alumni base, both here in the Cleveland area and across the country, and they often facilitate internships. They come back and give talks. They participate in our annual alumni and awards banquet. And so there are opportunities for our current students to interface with those alums. And we have a really great program that culminates in a major project mentored by a faculty member, either research-oriented or engineering design-oriented. We have 3 main Bachelor of Science degrees, again, based on a core of physics courses. There's a traditional physics major, which is good for those wanting to go into graduate school in physics, or medical physics, material science, or maybe into government research right out of the door. Engineering physics is more applied, more laboratory and engineering type coursework, and it's good for entering industry right away, and as well as a lot of our engineering physics majors go into engineering graduate programs. We have an interdisciplinary track that more recently we've developed into a biomedical and an entrepreneurship themed track. And that's growing more popularity. And then a light major is the Bachelor of Arts, and that's ideal for the 3-2 engineering program or some other options, including high school teaching. So just a little bit more about those. I know that a lot of students are very interested about the 3-2 engineering program, and I can talk more about that in the Q&A, but just really quickly, this is a partnership between Case, Western Reserve University, and John Carroll, and that Case is just within about 15 minutes drive of John Carroll. And in order to participate in that program, in the junior year, you need to have maintained a 3.0 GPA in pre-engineering courses, which are science and math, and overall, and take a prescribed set of courses, most of which are part of the physics major or engineering physics major. And then that transfer admission is guaranteed. And so that's the benefit of this partnership. Then once you're at Case, you can specialize in a particular field. And we do have one panelist that participated in that program. There's also here at John Carroll a BS MBA program that kind of connects people in various departments of the university together with the Boler School of Business, and in 5 years you can finish with an MBA together with, for example, a physics major or an entrepreneurship physics major. So just really quickly, this biomedical physics, this is great for students that might like to go to medical school or prepare for biomedical engineering career or medical physics. Entrepreneurship physics includes coursework from the Boler School in accounting and finance, and helps people think in terms of transitioning into the business world. And so that's also, we have one student just was developed this fall, and we already have one student is participating in that. So just really quickly, how does it work? I mentioned that this is, you're funneled into the various options with the same set of couple of year courses you get to choose after you've gotten here. We have 3-semester foundation in basic physics, foundational physics, math support courses, and laboratories and electronics. And so then what differentiates the various majors is then what happens in the junior and senior year. Upper level electives in physics as opposed to upper level electives in engineering, and then that major research project for physics students and major design project for engineering. And then interdisciplinary physics is basically none of these upper level specialized courses, but you add specialized courses in other areas so that you get to follow your interests in that way. And for those that are doing the 3-2 program, in the junior year, you would be preparing for that transfer. So you would take your junior year classes at John Carroll and then spend about another 2 years at Case afterwards. And so, like I said, it's the same start for all of the programs. And as you approach or in your junior year, that's really when you want to decide what you're going to do. There are a lot of ways to do things outside of the classroom at John Carroll. We have a very active chapter of the Society of Physics Students, which is a national club, and they do outreach. They have informal meetings. They make trips to local industry to learn more about options for careers. We do hire students to be teaching assistants in our non-physics major courses, which is a great experience. Students do participate in research, and they often make presentations at conferences. It is possible to study abroad, and there are other activities that our students are involved in. So research and internships is a really important part. This bottom line here is important. Just about all of our students that want to do this have an opportunity to do at least one sort of internship while they're here, and many do more than one. On campus in the summer, we do have paid summer research positions to work in faculty research labs. Faculty are also active researchers. First is teaching, and then the research piece feeds into the teaching and is a holistic approach. And we involve students in all aspects. We have no graduate students, and so it's the undergrads that get the attention. Our students also apply for off-campus research experiences that are really great, and you can go to really great places. Those are also paid quite well. And then local industry, or even close to your home if you're not in Cleveland. If you're back at home for the summer, we've had students get internships all over the place, and these are often facilitated by department alums. But as department chair, I also get phone calls from people saying, hey, we're looking for somebody for the summer. and some really good places from small to large that people have been participating. Just really quickly, whether it's summer research or the senior capstone projects, our students sometimes are involved to the level that they become co-authors on publications that go into the scientific literature, or they travel to conferences, even international conferences. And this is some pictures of our on-campus symposium. This would have been obviously pre-COVID. We actually have a really great system for this year, how to do this symposium, even though we're not going to all get together in the same room. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me just talk at the very conclusion here about student outcomes. Roughly speaking, about 50% of our four-year majors go directly into the workforce, and 50% go to graduate and professional school. And I'll talk a little bit about what kinds of job titles and places students have gone. And we have a really great placement rate. Last year we had 8 graduates, and I think 10 graduates, and 8 of them already had their plans solidified before graduation. So it's really, really great. What kinds of job titles? So these are actual job titles of students that have done the four-year program without going to graduate school or anything, directly from John Carroll. Research engineer, process engineer, sales engineer, and so on. Most of these are engineers, as you see. The engineering physics major really prepares you well to go into industry. Graduate schools, people have gone locally. They've gone, to the corners of the United States, depending on your interests and where your discipline and your ambitions lead you. So here's a list of people in the last maybe 5 years or so where they've gone to graduate school. And what do they study in graduate school? All kinds of things. So the engineering physics major prepares you to go into really any field of engineering that you would like to, either a master's program or PhD. A few years ago, we had 2 students in different departments go to Carnegie Mellon in graduate school, which is one of the top engineering schools. And so people do certainly compete for really top places and succeed. Of course, we do have some students that do go into physics. Medical physics is a great career. Medical school. Last year, we had students go into MBA programs to leverage their physics and technical background. We had students go into environmental law at Vanderbilt and get full tuition paid to do a joint JD degree, as well as a PhD in economics. So a physics major can lead you to places you may not be aware of. All of these, companies in the perimeter, we have alums that are working in those locations in various technical jobs. You may have been following what's been happening at NASA. We have an alum that was graduated with John here, who is working on the team that's on this mission to Mars. And so he graduated with engineering physics, and he was hired as an electrical engineer in NASA here locally in NASA Glenn. So with that, I think I'm going to try to stop, and I can always return to some of that stuff if it went too fast for you, but right now I want to allow the other panelists to introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll open up to questions. So why don't we start with Caroline?
Hi, I'm Caroline Kuchek. I'm a current junior. I'm from Maple Heights, Ohio, and I chose to go to John Carroll just because it's a really small school. I'd always gone to small schools before, so it kind of just felt like home. But the most important thing, like the best things that have happened at John Carroll, are all like surrounded by the community. It's a great community overall, but especially like in the physics department alone, you have very good relationships with your professors. They're very available all the time, and you're very close with your classmates too. So it's always easy to get help and easy to figure out what's going on. There's also like a bunch of experiences and opportunities through the physics program at John Carroll that are really like priceless for a lot of things. I'm currently a TA for 2 physics lab sections for I think it's non-physics majors. but that's a really good experience. It's really cool to do that. And I also did a summer research program over last summer with the variable star project, which I was putting together a survey for an upcoming publication about variable stars that were in the data for a telescope. And that was really interesting. And that research alone helped me figure out like kind of what path I want to take after John Carroll. So I think it's really important. The John Carroll Physics Department is really helpful and just a great experience.
Okay, let's go to John.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm a PhD student currently at the University of Washington, but I was a John Carroll class of 2017. And I gotta say, I just really enjoyed it and felt that it really prepared me for a future in physics in a lot of different ways. So when I was a senior, I did research with Dr. Dick here, and I remember we traveled, in a car for several hours to go to Michigan, and that sort of gave me an introduction to research at large. And I think the one-on-one sort of relationship that we had also prepared me for wanting to become a professor myself, because I really enjoyed our relationship and how he helped guide me for my future. So I think that's one of the big advantages of John Carroll, is the small size and the professors that you get to know on such a personal level. And they're all just, I can tell you, just personally so nice, and really want you to succeed and do an amazing job preparing you for that. Even though the research I'm doing now, which is on atomically thin materials that are 1,000 times thinner than your hair, is completely different from the research I was doing in undergrad. The ability to tackle problems and solve them, and be able to contribute with the rest of the scientific community that I learned at John Carroll really provided a solid basis for my future studies. And so it was a really great time.
Okay, now Silas.
Hello, everybody. My name is Silas. I'm a mechanical design engineer at Juergens. I think it's here in Cleveland. I graduated with the class of 2017. I actually went through the 3-2 program, went to John Carroll for the 3-2 program, and I did the 3-2 program with Case Western. I am from Nigeria, so I found John Carroll from, it was one of the schools that I found through Common App. I don't think I had heard of it till I looked it up on Common App. So this was back in 2013. I'm old. And I looked at the website, and then I saw that it had this program with that I could study mechanical engineering while learning all of the things that the liberal arts core will require you to learn. So things like philosophy, things like theology, all things that I was interested in, but just going straight through an engineering program wouldn't let me do. So so I went to John Carroll. I went to John Carroll for the 3-2 program, and I finished the 3-2 program, and it really prepared me for what I eventually ended up doing. So I started in the second summer as a sophomore, doing research with one of the professors at John Carroll, and I did research every summer since. And the research that I did at John Carroll really prepared me for the research that I ended up doing at Case. And all of the experiences that the physics department really that I had at the physics department, and following up to the program at the mechanical engineering program at Case Western, really prepared me for the job market. So one of the things that I really liked about doing the 3-2 program was the fact that I got to experience, I got to learn everything around, get a really large breadth of physics. So with engineering in the schools, it's very focused on specific concepts that you would need to apply if you're learning thermodynamics, you're learning it so that you can work on a car engine. If you're learning, it's less focus on theory and more focus on application, and you don't really get to venture outside of the track of mechanical engineering or electrical engineering if you decide to be an electrical engineer, or civil engineering if you decide to be a civil engineer. But going through the 3-2 program and learning um, and learning physics, or going through the physics program, really gave me a breadth of information. So I wasn't just while I was learning all of the mechanical engineering things, I also was learning it as I was learning it with the base of all of the physics things that I already knew. So um, it really colored my experience with learning mechanical engineering. Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you. So with that, maybe that has spurred some questions. So I'd love to hear what your questions might be, and we will do our best to answer.
There's got to be some questions. Is there any advice, either Caroline as a current student or the gentlemen who've been out for a few years, looking back on your college search and so forth and what you know now, any advice you can give the students that are on as they're making their final decisions, things maybe you wish you knew then, or anything come to mind?
I think it's just where you feel most comfortable. That was really what was the big deciding factor for me. I loved everything about John Carroll from like the moment I toured it. So it was just really important to feel comfortable, but also know like the programs here are like, I mean, what you're going to be studying. It's very important to look at those too. And they're all factors are really good.
John, you unmuted.
Doing it. Yeah, I would just say, yeah, I think it's really important to make sure you're in a place where you'll be motivated to want to do the research. And I think even for a small liberal arts facility, you can also consider the equipment. And I think that, for doing research and stuff like that. And I think John Carroll actually has, enough equipment that you can have, good exposure to the sort of research that's going on in even bigger schools. So I think if you consider both, the personnel side is very good. Like the professors are the nicest, and when you're in that environment, it creates such a positive learning environment that it's just easy to learn. And then also combined with the fact that there are equipment that you can use to actually do some research, I think it's a very nice combination of factors. And it's not just just nice professors, or they have really good equipment. It's like they have both, which is important when you're considering where you want to do your undergrad.
I think John and Caroline pointed out that it's a very comfortable atmosphere. So you really get to know your professors. There's because of the ratio between professors and students. I really appreciated the fact that the physics curriculum was very rigorous. I don't know what I expected, but it was if the physics department is you really, if you're studying physics, you're going to like really learn physics. So it's not as I think going into having experience with other schools and having experience with other programs, I've come to appreciate how rigorous the physics curriculum was from from all of the calculations that you need to do and all the first principles that you need to prove from, and I think because of how rigorous it was, I still carry it. The last time I took a physics course at John Carroll was 2016, but I still remember a lot of first principles. I mean, I've been practicing, but like a lot of the first principles that I proved from, and all of the concepts that I've learned from John Carroll. So I think it's like belonging to like a club of like of very of people that understand how the world works, and I think that's very cool. That makes me feel very cool. So I think you would enjoy that if you join the fitness program too.
Silas, could you just say really quickly how that transition was? Like, did you feel prepared at Case? And that the transition and
it was I mean, it was a different time. When I went from John Carroll to Case, the transition outside of classes was I went from living on campus to off campus at Case, and when I like the classes at Case aren't all the people that do the 3-2 program will tell you that it's not as difficult as the classes that you take at the John Carroll. So because of the rigorous program, it's so you can really take on a lot of take on more than you would be able to with the courses that you're taking at JCU. Yeah, like what else would you like to know about transition?
no, I mean, I think that's good to hear that, although Case is known for, a high octane engineering program, that you feel prepared once you get there with our foundation. I think we have a chat question. What does a day in the life look like for a physics student for each of the years? I'll let the students start, or maybe Caroline should say what it's like today. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, usually it's just starting off for your first few morning classes, you're with the same, well, my class I think is about 12 people. So you see all your favorite 12 people every day and for different classes. And it's honestly really nice because you get to like build a better community that way. If you ever have trouble with something, there's so many people that you could just walk into class and be like, hey, do you know how to do this problem? Like, could you help me out? And that's really helpful to have that kind of background. And usually after, I think it depends year to year. Freshman year, I think we only had one lab a week, and then sophomore year, I think we was taking 2 labs at the same time. And it depends on your course load, like specifically what physics major you're going for. But there's definitely a lot of labs. It's very rigorous, like everyone has said, but it's not overwhelming. That's the one thing where it's very manageable because of the professors being so available. It's a lot of work, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, and I can add too that, in terms of, I can't speak about the day in the life for the student perspective, but, a lot of the classes do have labs that support what you're learning in the theory class or the lecture class. We do have, as you advance through the program, those labs, it's kind of a scaffolded approach where we teach foundational lab skills, and then over the period of a few years, you actually develop more independence and ability to work more on your own, or often you're working with a partner or in a team. But it culminates with a project where hopefully you'll have all of those skills to be able to know a lot about what's available in the department in terms of equipment and support. and then you develop a sense for what you're most interested in as well. And so that means that you can sort of tailor your senior experience. Since we know you as well as faculty, we help you, if you have your own idea, we try to help with that. You also can pursue projects that are already, next steps in a faculty research lab. This year we have a couple of students working for their senior project as an intern in with a startup company in aerospace called Martian Sky Industries. Okay, and so they're working on designing robotics that are aimed to be used in future generations of exploration on the moon or on Mars. And so and we've had students work at the Cleveland Clinic, for example, in biomedical engineering kinds of things. I think I saw a chat question here. What are other projects for physics and engineering students have made? So maybe I'll just tell a little bit more about the kinds of projects. We've, in my research lab, I work on energy materials. So these are materials that would go into devices like solar cells or thermoelectric modules. And so lately, some students have been working on doing photoconductivity measurements on some brand new materials that are viewed as potentially exciting and highly efficient for use in solar cells. There's medical imaging and medical device kinds of research that are happening in the department as well, and other faculty research labs. And so using a laser and magnetic fields to look for minute quantities of disease pathogens. This is like a tabletop experiment, and we have some students working on projects like that. Caroline mentioned that in the summer she was able to work in the field of astronomy and astrophysics, and we've had a number of students pick up various projects like that. We have an optical tweezers in the department. Sometimes students, related to engineering design experiments or projects, people designed a device that actually uses focused laser light to actually act like a tweezers. So it's just light, and it actually grabs and moves things around. So that's a pretty cool thing, and it involved a lot of engineering design and then proof of principle kinds of experiments. So maybe I'll be quiet in case there might be another question, in case we have a little bit of more time, but if hopefully I was able to answer that question a little bit.
We have time for one more. We're a little over, but we could take one more question if there are any. Okay, Jeff, any final comments or?
No, I'll just say that, let me just share the screen again really quickly in case you want to take down how to get a hold of me personally. I'm happy to meet with people on Zoom or just answer an email question. And we do have a lot of information on our physics homepage. And that's actually in the process of being updated a little bit, but there's still very good information there. So, one final bit is that we do have scholarships that we offer. We're in the process now of figuring out our incoming student scholarships, but we also offer scholarships to current students. And so even if you missed that cycle this year and you join our department, then we do have quite a lot of good endowed funds from alumni gifts that help support students in their studies here.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank our panelists for their time today and their insight. I want to thank the students who have joined, and hopefully this was a beneficial session. But as Dr. Dick said, if you have follow-up questions, he is more than welcome to address those and assist you in any way possible as you make your final college decision. And we hope you join the other sessions today for the admitted student celebration, and have an enjoyable day through those sessions as well. Thank you, and thank you to our panelists. Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.